In this video, we're going to talk about RP.3. RP.3 is where we're going to take everyday situations and we solve them using rates and unit rates. So in our other videos, we talked about solving this specific problem by saying 5 times 4 is 20 and 2 times 4 is 8. So what you did to the bottom, you did to the top. Today we're going to look at it as a variable here. A variable is a letter that takes the place of an unknown number. And we're going to solve it using crisscross multiplication. So 5 times x is 5x, and 20 times 2 is 40. Now, what 5x means is 5 times a variable equals 40. So in order to solve equations, our main goal is to get the variable isolated. Isolated means to get it by itself. In order for us to isolate a variable, we need to do inverse operations. Inverse operations means we're going to do everything backwards. So for instance, in this problem, we have times 5. So the inverse of times 5 is going to be dividing by 5. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. Now again, I'm writing mine using a fraction as a division sign. It's the exact same concept. It may just help us not get us confused as easy. So we have 5 divided by 5, and that's going to give us 1, which in identity means we're just going to put x. The identity property, 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 10 is 10. You don't ever write the 1 times 5, you just write 5. So 1 times x is just x. And then 40 divided by 5 is 8. So we still get that x equals 8. Same idea as we did before. But not always is our numbers going to be as pretty as what we just looked at. Now, in this problem, we have Mr. Duke that drives 120 miles in 3 hours. This bit of information is what we know from this problem. We know it because it told us specifically 120 miles in 3 hours. We want to know how far he can go in 5 hours if he drives the same rate of speed. So let's put what we know here first, 120 miles, 3 hours. And then down here, we're going to put 5 hours. Here, we're going to use this section for our unit rate. So we're going to figure out how far he can go in 1 hour. Now, that's going to be 3 divided by 3 is 1. So 120 divided by 3 is going to give us 40. So in 1 hour, he can go 40 miles. Now we can take our unit rate, and from a unit rate, you can go anywhere you want to because you can say 1 times any number you want to get where you need to go. So 1 times 5 is 5. And then 40 times 5 is going to give us 200 miles. So if he's given 5 hours, he can go a total of 200 miles. Now we can also take this and jump to a whole different problem, or I guess the same problem, just a different way to look at it. Let me back up just a little. And so that way you have enough room here. Now we're going to take this and we're going to put our 120 miles, 3 hours. And since I want to go straight to 5 hours in this problem, I'm going to put 5 hours. Now, again, we can always use unit rate. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we can just jump straight to it. Unless the word problem says specifically find the unit rate, we can go straight to 5 hours if we want. So put the variable here. 3 times x is 3x. 5 times 120 is 600. Remember, this is 3x, which means 3 times x. So instead of multiplying by 3, we're going to do that inverse operations, which instead of multiplying, inverse is division. So we're going to divide the left side by 3 and the right side by 3. This is going to allow us to get that variable isolated. So we're going to have x, because 3 divided by 3 is 1, so it just leaves us with x. 600 divided by 3 is going to give us 200. So again, we have x equals 200. So either way, you use a unit rate or a rate, we can still get the exact same answer, but you can just use it a little differently.